stands in her way like a guard. Its thick, ridged trunk and crooked branches look fossilized. She circles past, brushing her fingers over the knotted bark. The ground begins to drop down into the woods again. The trees tower above her, fragmenting the sky. It is suddenly cold, and she pushes her hands into her pockets. She has never walked this far from home. She wonders if she should turn back. It will soon be time to collect Charlie. Something glitters, gliding through the bracken and the brambles. A stream is flowing beside the path. She didn't notice it before. Perhaps it's been there all along. She follows the stream, wondering where it will lead her, and comes to a wooden plank bridge. Through the silhouettes of trees, the pale mist, the horizon shimmers. She crosses the bridge. The trees thin, the light grows stronger, and birds are flying above. A lake, as smooth as a plate of glass, appears before her like a mirage. Reeds line the rocky edges, and a willow tree drips into the greenish water. A white swan floats past, and its reflection is a painting. Red brick houses with striped lawns slope down to swept wooden jetties and rowing boats. A few deck chairs are positioned to catch the sun. It is quiet. She's never heard of a lake in Littlefold. She searches her childhood memories, but there is nothing. Perhaps this was once the water garden of an old country house, knocked down and developed into new properties. She follows the path circling around it. Here and there trails lead down to the water. Up close the lake is murky, with wreaths of tangled weed. A black and white duck paddles in the shadows. A bigger brown one dives and resurfaces, its wet head glistening like an emerald. There is a sign for the Littlefold anglers, but she can't see any fish. Perhaps it is quite deep. She comes to a bench and sits down. The trees are wrapped in ivy, and tiny buds of new leaves sparkle like fairy lights. The lush vegetation hums with invisible insects and bees. Across the lake there is another, larger seat. Carved from polished dark wood, it looks more like a beautiful piece of artisan furniture than an outdoor bench. The sun pulses, the woodland seat glows, and she suddenly longs to touch it. She follows the path around to it, and there is a name, Samuel Thomas, and 2 dates. The boy, Samuel Thomas, was 13 when he died. The wood is as smooth as walnut, the grain flecked with amber and gold. She runs her fingers over the blackened inscription. A flower in his garden, in the stars and in our hearts. She doesn't know how his parents have managed to go on living. She can't imagine a life without one of her sons.
Sarah, darling, and little Charlie,
Aunt Edith says, looking pleased. She is in the sitting room, folded into a high-back blue velvet armchair drawn up to the fire. A copy of Pride and Prejudice and her spectacles on a table beside her. The damask curtains are tied back, but it is overcast, and Anna has switched on the lamps. Beneath the heavy gilt mirror, on the marble mantelpiece, are silver-framed portraits of family weddings. Aunt Edith, tall and elegant in a veil and long flowing gown, standing beside Uncle George on the steps of St. Michael's. Grandpa Jim and Grandma Maggie in their uniforms in wartime Rome. Catherine, her blonde hair falling around her shoulders, in an ivory dress with puffed sleeves. Harry in a grey coat and tails, stepping out of a Rolls. And there are Sarah and Paul, on their honeymoon in Barcelona. It wasn't that long ago, but they both look so young, their faces glowing, their eyes bright with the promise of a life together. She remembers strolling hand in hand with Paul along the tree-lined avenues, admiring the flamboyant Gaudi architecture, sitting close together for candlelit suppers by the marina. It seems like a dream now. Sarah leans down to kiss her great-aunt, and is nearly